All right, so now it's time to move on to the aft decks. You can see the ones we're going to work on in this video. And there's another tennis court up there. And there's some things over here where the other king posts are going to go. So, let's see. First thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the decks. So let's put her aside for a minute. And we'll start with this deck. Use our trusty Tester's green. So we got this part painted, and I'm not sure what that is on the end. I'm gonna have to look into that. But we got where the staircases are, and you can see these two observation decks that go out and overhang the ship. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna let this dry. And let's see what we'll put it over here. And let's see, we can move on to this one. We'll just paint all the green, and we'll do this one last. This one has a tennis court, so we'll be using this green on this tennis court because I don't believe this one is blue, but I will double check. But let's do this one next with the green. So we got this section done. And there's a lot of tricky places to get in there, and we'll touch that up when we do the white, the finishing. And I got a little bit of green on the tennis court, but that's okay. We still have to paint the tennis court. And like I said, we're going to paint it the olive green or the medium green. So let's put that aside. And we're going to clean our brush, and then we'll do the final part for the deck. Here we go. And when this is fully dry, we'll paint all the details. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks of rafts. 1, 2, looks like there's 4 generators. And I don't know what those other things are. But let's see if I can find some photos of the section of the ship, and we can detail it. So we're going to wait for all this to dry. What I want to do in the meantime is what's going to go on those are the other 2 king posts, the ones that go in the back. I don't know if you can be able to see that. I think this is going to be the inside. You can see the spotlights on the inside as well. And there's a small half moon. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. But there's a round part, and I think the round part is actually going to go, yeah, the round part is going to go on the outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to put lights on these as well, just like we did on the front king post. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but like we did in the front, we're going to take this tiny, tiny little spotlight, and we're going to put it on the king post. So the moon, the curve is going to face outward, so we're going to put it just like that. And we're going to glue that into position. So let's get a couple of these ready. And don't forget, we need resistors to go on here because we're using 9 volts. So we need 2 of those. All right, let me give you a little bit of an update on what I did. Let me see if I can zoom in. Because the king posts in the back were a little bit smaller, what I had to do is wrap a little bit around the base in order to keep it still so I could super glue it, or crazy glue it. So you can see what's going to wrap around. But once the glue is dry, I can unravel that and we'll be able to pass it through. And when I paint, the paint will pretty much conceal the wires. But it's important to get the lights on top of these king posts because in the pictures, for the night views of the ship, that's what it looks like. Those spotlights are lit up. So we're going to wait for all this to dry. You guys can see all the stuff that we did already. And when all this is dry, we'll move on. Okay, so it had some time to dry. Interesting about these things, there are two king posts that go on either side of there, and you can see there are winch motors. Well, my friend Alan sent me a lot of really good pictures. He actually shows one of the winch motors, and believe it or not, it's actually blue. The winch motor itself is blue, and the wheel is white. So I don't know if I should do them blue, like the picture, or do them, let's see, like I have been doing them so far, doing them. So we're going to do the winch motors. I'm going to do them blue. And if anyone's out there going, well, they're not blue, I'm going to put the picture up that shows that the winch motor for these king posts on the crane is actually blue. And the round part on the end is white. And there are a couple of, there are 4 life raft piles. Easier. All right, let's go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the, I'm going to put this deck on right now. Let's move the king posts. Okay, I'm going to use the crazy glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on this section. Just like that. That way there when we abut it, just like that. I want to make sure it's nice and snug. So the light block, let's check that. That's looking pretty good. Let's move on to paint some of these little pieces right here. So I'm going to do the silver pieces first. It'll be a little bit easier. So let's get the silver. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all of the silver sections. I'm not quite sure what these little posts are. I'm wondering if they're observation. You know those little binoculars that you put like a coin into to operate? I'm going to have to check. And that won't be a hard thing to touch up. There's like a square that the back rafts are on. I think that was silver. So I think I'm going to make that silver as well. All right, so we made that silver. And I don't really see anything else that's going to be silver. So this is the gunship gray. All right, so it looks like that's all the gray. But while I have the gray out still, I think I'm going to do the hatch covers to the way they're supposed to be. And that's gray all around. There we go. That's a little more historically accurate. So, all right, so we got the hatch covers the right color now. Okay, so what else is going to be gray? I don't think anything else. Is there anything on here? See, I'm not sure what that is. If that's like a group of chairs or something that's sitting over there. The chairs were red, so I don't know if I'll do that red just to signify it's chairs. But I don't think it's anything else that's gray. So let's close up the gray. All right, let's paint the winch motors. Here we are. All right, so we got all the motors, the winch motors for the cranes all blue. And like I said, when they're dry, we'll put the little round end part, we'll put that white. So let's move on. Let's go on to the tennis court. And like I said, I think I'm going to put that red. Let's go to do the tennis court, the green that we've been doing it. Here we go. You can see that's all done. And what else is, like I said, we're going to do red and silver for that area. All right, so there's no green on the other parts. Like I said, we're going to do this area red behind the tennis court because according to the pictures, that's kind of like a little gathering area where there's chairs, there's rows of chairs, like they might have maybe a performance there or a service or something. And the chairs appear to be red. So if we do that red in the middle. All right, you know what? I don't think I'm going to push my luck. So I think I'm going to leave it like that. You can see the red area is where the chairs are. So now we're going to let it dry overnight, so it'll be totally dry. You can see they had a chance to dry. And the light is in the front. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that. But that's looking good. And this is going to go right there. Just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to crazy glue these. And we're going to let these dry overnight and really, really solidify. All right, so everything had a nice chance to dry. You can see now the lines are prominent on a tennis court, and I have an idea what I'm going to do about the lines. And what we're going to do is this one. We got to do the life rafts white and the crane motors. The round part is white, and these gray boxes that are on the deck, the bottom part was gray and the top was white. So we have to do white on a couple of these. And then we'll be ready to do the king posts. Speaking of which, they had a chance to dry. Let's see if you guys can see the light in there. can see that one looks pretty good. And what I'd like to do is take a Q-tip and just make sure that the bulb is clean. So let's see, like I said, we have the white. So let's do the rafts, the motors, and the tops of those boxes or vents. There we are. That looks a little more accurate. Now what we got to do now is we need to put the black in on top of the light rafts. You can see it looks pretty good. So what we got to do now is we'll wait for the paint to dry, and then we'll put the king posts in. All right, so now the bow is accurate, or the forecastle deck. We got the lifeboats that are white, and we have the hatch covers that are gray. You can see there's a little nub, and it's going to go right into, oh, let me show you, it's going to go right into that little slot. And the little nubs right there are going to go, is to be tied. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get some rigging ready and put it aside, because let's see, the rigging is going to go to the back of the rear smokestack. Can't really see it on here. You can see it doesn't go to the back of the stern. It goes right to that deck, and it goes up the king posts, and I think it goes to the back of the smokestack. That's what it looks like. So I'm going to put just enough thread to get to the rigging, to get to the smokestack, just so we have that, so we don't have to do that later. Yeah, you can see the little bit of glue is going to hold that, and then the tape will hold it in place. So now we're ready to glue it into place, and we're going to use super glue. There we are. It looks pretty good. Again, I'm glad I did the chair section in red, because that sticks it out a little bit. So what I want to do now is, we don't want the rigging to get tangled up in anything, so let's go ahead and spool it up. And we're going to leave it just like that. Okay, so it had some time to dry, and you guys can see everything is painted. We got the rafts, we got the winch motors, we got those vents, we even have those box looking things. So this is all done. So what we're ready to do now is we're ready to put the cranes in, or the king posts. You can see it's going to go on either side. And one way you can tell how the king posts go in, you can see the opening is it's a little half circle. So the part that's flat is going to go on the outside. That way there, you'll be able to put them in right. And the king posts had some time to dry with the lights on them. Actually looks like a couple of stick people sleepwalking. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it right about in front. That way there, when we can put the king post in, but on the same time we can run the wire through. All right. So I don't know if you can see that, right where the king post is going to go. We got that hole, we could pass the wires through, so let's do the same thing for the other side. And they're going to go in just like that. But what we're going to have to do first is we're going to have to drill holes in this deck as well, because you guys, I don't know if you can see it or not, but let me put this in. All right, so that's how it's going to go. But there are no holes in the secondary in this deck. So we're going to have to pass the wires through the hole. So we're going to have to make I'll show you why we have to do it in a minute. All right, so that's through. So when we take this off, I don't know if you guys can see or not, we got the holes that are outside of the area. So when you actually look where we drilled, you can see that the wire wouldn't be able to go through this opening because it just wouldn't fit right. As I think we're going to glue this on first, then pass the wires through. So I'm going to use our friend Mr. Crazy Glue. I'll put some glue on there. So it's going to go just like that. So I gotta put the crane part back on because it came off. All right, so we're ready to move on to the soldering. And at the same time, we're going to solder the resistors on. Start with the lead over here. All right, now let's work on the resistors. The resistors. All right, so we got the resistors soldered on. And we got the lead soldered on. So let's work on bringing them together. Okay, so now for the moment of truth. If we did it right, we'll have lights on the king posts in the back and on the king posts in the front. You guys can see. So it was a pain, but it was worth it. And these king posts in the back really gave me a hard time because these pieces kept breaking off. It seems like I glued them a million times. So you can see we've got lights, the spotlights on the king posts. So that's a good thing. So what we're ready to do now is we're ready to finish up the aft end of the decks. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the rigging on the king posts. And then we'll be ready to move on. And we're going to go up and around. So you can see the rigging is on. What we'll do is we'll cut all the pieces off when it's dry. Let's put the lights on. You can see that looks pretty cool. You can see the inside, a little bit messy, but that's really not going to show once everything is on. You can see the lights in the front and the lights in the back. Okay, so we got pretty much the decks on the aft end of the ship all set, and we have the king posts in the back, and we've got the rigging all taken care of. We've got the decking, so that's all set. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to put the lines in on the tennis courts, but we'll do that as a finishing touch when we're done the ship. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to let the glue dry before we cut the ends of the string. So now we're ready to move on to midship. So I thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you again in the next video very soon.